The Reconquista lasted 781 years, functioning as a messy, centuries-long chess match of local survival, fragile alliances, and bitter betrayal. In 711, the board was clearly divided. Across North Africa, stretching all the way to Persia, sat the Umayyad Caliphate, the era's undisputed superpower. Just across the water sat the Visigothic kingdom. It appeared wealthy and centralized, but internal vendettas made the kingdom increasingly brittle. That year, a Berber general named Tariq bin Ziyad crossed the narrow strait with 7,000 men. He landed his forces on the steep, rocky cliffs we now call Gibraltar. Tariq was surprisingly well supplied, largely because a disgruntled Christian noble provided the ships and weapons needed to strike at his own king. These local petty squabbles accidentally left the front door wide open for an expanding empire. King Roderick initially ignored the landing. While an invasion force established a beachhead, Roderick focused on a court jester who had stolen his royal jewelry. He prioritized his personal gold while an empire gathered on his shores. Roderick finally marched south to the Battle of Guadalete with a massive army, intending to use the fight to prove he was the rightful king. But when the fighting began, the political rot surfaced. Entire factions of his own nobles either abandoned the field or switched sides in the middle of the battle. The command structure dissolved instantly. Tariq's force, though outnumbered 3-1, crushed the Visigoths. King Roderick disappeared in the chaos, and the 300-year-old kingdom collapsed in a single campaign. The invaders swept north, capturing Córdoba and the capital of Toledo within months. By 718, nearly the entire peninsula was under Muslim control, renamed Al-Andalus. The surviving Christians fled to the jagged, misty mountains of Asturias in the extreme north. This collapse set a baseline for the next 8 centuries. A larger army counts for nothing if the political structure is rotting from the inside. A stark divide took hold. Up north, Christian survivors lived in mountain huts, slowly forming a tiny refuge. In the south, Al-Andalus became a wealthy, culturally dominant society. By the 10th century, the Caliphate of Córdoba was the jewel of the West. It featured massive libraries and advanced irrigation, and architecture like the double arches of the Great Mosque, which dwarfed any contemporary construction in Northern Europe. This prosperity relied on the cooperation of diverse ethnic and social groups. However, that unity began to deteriorate rapidly after the deaths of its most capable rulers. In 1009, civil war broke out, shattering the caliphate into dozens of rival city-states known as taifas. These Muslim princes began paying northern Christian kings for protection, effectively funding the armies praying for their downfall. The Christians did not suddenly develop a secret tactical advantage. The Muslim superpower defeated itself through internal fragmentation. Christian kingdoms like Leon, Castile, and Aragon exploited this fracture. They moved south in a slow grind, picking off fortresses and absorbing the divided taifas one by one. The southern rulers eventually called for help from North Africa. Hard-line dynasties, the Almorazids and Almohads, crossed the strait to halt the Christian advance, temporarily reuniting Al-Andalus under strict religious law. By 1212, the momentum reached a breaking point. In a rare moment of cooperation, the squabbling Christian kingdoms agreed to stop fighting each other and formed a massive, unified alliance. At Las Navas de Tolosa, the united Christian front shattered the Almohad army. This massive defeat broke Muslim power in the peninsula forever. The pendulum of the peninsula favored the side that could maintain unity. The divided faction was destined to fall. By the mid-1200s, only one Muslim kingdom remained, Granada. Tucked beneath the Sierra Nevada mountains, it stood as the final jewel of Al-Andalus. Granada survived for an additional 2 centuries through clever diplomacy. They prioritized political survival by paying tribute to Castile and arranging strategic marriages, keeping the Reconquista at bay through negotiation. This strategy failed once Ferdinand of Aragon married Isabella of Castile. Their marriage merged the Christian territories into a single, massive Spanish superstate. The Catholic monarchs launched a final 10-year campaign to close the noose. On January 2, 1492, the last Muslim ruler formally surrendered the city, bringing the 781-year Reconquista to an end. That same year, the newly unified Spanish state channeled 8 centuries of military momentum into a westward expedition. Christopher Columbus sailed across the Atlantic, carrying the same militant fervor that had just conquered the peninsula. The Reconquista functioned as an 8th-century geopolitical crucible, forging a fragmented peninsula into a modern superpower and immediately launching a westward expansion that would extend Spanish influence across the Atlantic.